Life can be very difficult when you're a small business owner, like a law firm owner, and you wear multiple hats, but you don't have to. In this episode, I interview Brandy Derrick of Legal Ease, Legal Ease Bookkeeping. Her firm helps lawyers gain sanity when it comes to their financial statements, their accounting, and bookkeeping. Listen to this podcast episode where we discuss all the different issues that a good bookkeeping and accounting firm can help you solve for minuscule, relatively speaking, minuscule amount of money, and how you can generate a huge return on that investment. Hi there. I have a small but really meaningful favor to ask you. I watch at the stats on our YouTube channel and Spotify channel, wherever most people listen and watch our podcast. And I see that over 80% of everybody who listens to it regularly is not a subscriber. I'm asking you to subscribe to this channel. And the reason for that is my mission and the mission of my team is to help as many small law firm owners to learn how to transform their law firms into better businesses, and so they in turn enjoy better lives. When you hit subscribe button, you tell these platforms that this is content worth listening, worth viewing, and they in turn will show it to many other small law firm owners and hopefully help me fulfill our mission of helping them create a better business and enjoy better lives. So would you please do me this favor? It would mean the world to me, and hit the subscribe button. And my promise to you is that I will continue to work hard at creating good content with practical ideas that help you and your teams grow better law firms. Thank you. Welcome to another podcast episode of GLF, where I get to interview remarkable people who help attorneys run their businesses better by sharing interesting, practical insights about running a business of law. On this episode, I have Brandy Derrick with me from a company called Legal Ease Bookkeeping. Brandy, I love the name. How'd you come up with it?
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember, but I was trying to come up with something clever that was related to, that had a law firm term in it. Mm-hmm. And when I thought about legal ease, I love the aspect of making bookkeeping easy. So I loved using that word ease, and I have lots of friends who are attorneys, and I talked to them about, they didn't own their own firms, but I talked to them about the bookkeeping within their firms and the problems that they would have. And I always thought, I was like, why is it so difficult for you to get paid the amount of money that you're supposed to get paid? I know I could fix this in this law firm and make it easy. And so anyways, it just stuck.
Sure. And for those of you who are not watching this on YouTube or any other video platform and are just listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, the name of the firm is Legal Ease, not Legal Ease, not one word, but it's Legal Ease, like easy bookkeeping. Legal Ease Bookkeeping. Again, the name that I absolutely love. It is absolutely true. I've talked over the years to thousands of attorneys, and I've never heard somebody say, I got 99 problems, but bookkeeping ain't one, or knowing my numbers ain't one. In fact, most attorneys who I got to talk to about their business, they would say that I got into law because I don't like numbers, meaning they're very, very smart people. But when it comes to dealing with numbers, they'd rather not deal with it. And that creates a host of problems, especially for law firm owners who are by trade lawyers, but become business owners. And now there are all these numbers to deal with. I'm sure that you see it every single day. How do you, if you were a law firm owner, how would you deal with this on a daily basis to make sure that you do not get into trouble with your accounting?
Well, you need to know that your bar association rules in regards to your trust accounting or your IOLTA account. You need to make sure that you're following those rules for your particular bar association. But then you need to stay on top of your billing and collecting payments. Otherwise, you can get in trouble with your finances and your cash flow. Personal injury attorneys, I see it all the time where they're getting into trouble because they have so many case expenses, and it might take a while for the case to settle. And some people have a lot of pride around not taking out a loan, and that's awesome. But you can't really grow your firm very fast if you're not taking out a loan. But then also you can't you might get into trouble if you take out too much in loans and the cases don't settle and you never collect that fund. So just keeping track of all of your money is super important, and keeping up with your books, knowing where you stand financially is really important for growing your firm.
Yeah. I am a huge proponent of letting the right people do the right things in my business, and I advise the same thing to our clients and the friends of mine who own various businesses, and that is, if you do not have background in finance and accounting, or even if you have that background, but you're still in the leadership role of your law firm or any other type of business, let somebody who can take care of your finances take care of your finances. They will do a much better job. I think a lot of people have a very hard time delegating. It's an expense and it
Yeah.
takes some guts to delegate this, but I'm a huge. So before we hit the record button, I shared that I have a full-time admin who is also our bookkeeper, who is in charge of keeping books straight, meaning every transaction that goes into our QuickBooks Online, she allocates it to a proper expense category. Every invoice that's issued, she makes sure that it goes to the right client and make sure that it gets paid timely. Every expense that needs to be paid out is paid out on time. And this is a full-time job. And in addition to that, we have a CPA who takes care of our taxes. And in addition to that, we do not have that yet. We had a consultant who was a fractional CFO, but I'm also looking to add a fractional CFO who is going to help us manage our future numbers better, because that's what CFOs do. They do not look back so much. They examine the past and then they look into the future and help you prepare for the future. So those are big and separate jobs. And I think that if you're a law firm owner and you're listening to this, whether you're solo or you have a 10-person law firm, a 20-person law firm, if you do not have somebody take care of your bookkeeping almost on a daily basis, chances are your books are not going to be in order.
Right. For sure. Things are going to slip through the cracks. You're going to forget what things are. Somebody will come to us and they'll need all of last year's books entered because it hasn't been entered, and now they need to file their taxes.
Yesterday, I need this done yesterday.
Yes. And there's transactions where, we try our best to figure out what everything is, but there's some things we just don't know. And so then we'll ask the law firm owner or their assistant or paralegal or whatever, what client did this belong to, or what is this transaction for? And they don't remember it. It was 11 months ago. They have no idea. But if you're keeping track of it regularly, then you'll remember what you purchased. You remember what you purchased yesterday. You'll know what people paid you today. So keeping on top of it is super important. And I guess people, they forget or they don't realize how much time it can take to go back and research and try to figure out what something was. Like you can spend an hour looking through your emails trying to figure out, this one person paid me on this day. I know I have an email about it. But if you were keeping track of it, it would have only taken you 5 seconds to remember who that person was. So it adds a lot of time.
Well, what are the best practices for making sure that your books are kept in order? Is it a daily thing, a weekly thing, a monthly thing?
Well, I think it depends on the size of the law firm. I mean, if you can keep up with it daily, I think that's best. But with our practice, we're mostly in our clients' books once a week, entering in all of the transactions from the previous week. But if it's a larger law firm, you need to be in there. If you have over 100 transactions in a week, you need to be in there more often than once a week, entering in all of the data, because otherwise it's just too much to remember. And then it also becomes too overwhelming. It takes too much time to enter it all. And so then if you as a law firm owner are trying to do it yourself and you already don't like doing it, and now you have to enter a whole bunch of stuff, it's just overwhelming, and you won't do it.
I don't think most lawyers and law firm owners ever want to do this. ever, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. And I have a degree in finance and background in accounting. I worked in the accounting field. Like I know a lot about this. I don't want to do this. This is a reasonably inexpensive service on an hourly basis. Mm-hmm. But if you're an attorney and your average hour is worth, let's call it $200 an hour, mm-hmm. You may be doing a job that's worth a fraction of that. right? When you're keeping your books in order, it just makes absolutely no sense to do it yourself.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, if you're charging $200 or $300 an hour, and and you're doing your own bookkeeping, you're probably spending 5 to 10 hours a month doing your bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Our services don't cost nearly that amount.
Right. There's a bigger problem though than just keeping books in order. I think that people who do not keep their books in order, and by the way, I should have started with this. If you're listening to this and you run a law firm, there is almost 100% probability that you have an accountant who does your tax returns.
Mm-hmm.
But an accountant does not keep your books in order. It's just
Right.
not their job. That is a bookkeeping job. And if you only talk to your accountant, comes February of every year, because your corporate taxes are due March 15th,
Mm-hmm.
and then your personal tax returns are due April 15th. If you only talk to them that one time a year in February and maybe numerous conversations in March and April, it's already too late to manage your business by the numbers.
Right.
Proper bookkeeping, correct me if I'm wrong, allows you to actually make sense of the numbers. And I think that when I read your profile on LinkedIn, you said that you don't just keep bookkeeping, you also help law firm owners understand their financial reports, analyze their situation, and point out ways they can actually improve the bottom line.
That's right. We like to, I think a lot of law firm owners, first of all, they're not good at numbers. And so you present them with a P&L and it's overwhelming. There's just a whole bunch of numbers. They don't understand what it means or what they're supposed to get out of it. And so we get on a Zoom call with them and go over the information in a way that they can understand it and allow them to ask questions. But then also we like to do comparisons. So what was it this month versus last month? Or what is it this month versus last year for this month? Or if there's other, some law firms are very cyclical. So there might be a certain time frame that they want to look at. Others are not so cyclical. And when you can look at those numbers, then we can go, wait a second, why is our revenue down? It doesn't feel like our revenue is down.
Yep.
Oh, that's because of some issue. Well, let's go fix that issue. And then also we like to take a look at your expenses and, if it's a law firm that has 3 employees and there's 5 Adobe subscriptions, it's like, why are you paying 5 times for Adobe? Or your rent is really high for a law firm of your size. Most law firms your size don't have rent that high. Is there something we can do about it? And sometimes they're like, no, I want to be in this awesome building because it has my name on that's what I'm paying for, is sort of advertising. And you're like, okay, I get it. But some people are like, oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting. Once they know the information, then they can make changes with their law firm and make them more profitable.
Yeah.
But if they don't understand the information, they can't.
Most new clients, when they come to you, do they come to you from another bookkeeping firm, or are they just looking to hire their first bookkeeping firm?
It really depends. I think probably we have about a third that they're doing the bookkeeping, or they're brand new. Mm-hmm. They're doing their bookkeeping, or they're a brand new law firm. Maybe they're leaving a big company and starting their own firm or something like that. So they're a brand new law firm. Then we have about a third where they have an existing bookkeeper who is either leaving them or they're like not happy with them. And then I don't remember what I was going to say about my other third. Maybe my other third was combined in there, but I knew I had 3.
I think you got all 3.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So a third that's just starting out, a third that used to doing their own bookkeeping, and a third who is either leaving their accounting or bookkeeping firm, or the bookkeeping firm is leaving them.
Right. Yes.
So
yeah,
it's really interesting. I've met a lot of law firm owners and other type of business owners, and I've been one of them many, many, many years in somewhat of a distant past, where I would manage the business, but what I refer to as a bank balance accounting, meaning do I have enough money in the bank
right,
to pay this or to pay that? It's been many years since I've done that. It's probably the most nerve-wracking approach toward managing a business from a financial standpoint.
right.
And I love it that you meet with your clients once a week to go over their numbers, because that alleviates that stress and keeps the dashboard, the financial dashboard, which is really like So when you go to a hospital for whatever reason, they always in triage they do four things. They measure your temperature, they measure your blood pressure, they measure oxygenation level, and I forgot the fourth thing that they do, but there are four basic tests.
Do they weigh you? Is that the other one?
No,
I feel like I always get
no,
weighed.
no, no. Temperature, blood pressure, oxygenation level,
Something.
right? There is a reason behind these four tests that usually take under 3 minutes to perform. 80% of acute problems will show up in one of those or more than one of those tests.
Yeah.
This gives the hospital an instant glimpse at, do you have something really serious going on? And then if all of those test results are within the range, normal range, then they move on to diagnose other things. But if one of them really stands out, like your blood pressure is 190 over 140, they're like, this person is about to die.
Right.
We need to treat this before we treat anything else, right?
Yeah.
So by doing the weekly mini audit of your finances, because that's what it is. It's a mini audit. It's like you're having that dashboard in front of you and you're seeing, was my business healthy over the last 7 days?
Right.
Or unhealthy? I think that's just an awesome idea to do that. And I do not do it on a weekly basis. I look over our accounting daily, but I do not have that full dashboard, which I really like, which I think I'm going to drive my admin crazy, because I'm going to say, let's look at these numbers once a week.
Yeah. Well, and I've been building a dashboard for myself and to use internally to see how my firm is doing. And I don't know. It's so much fun when you get to see. I'm a numbers person, but I'm like, it's so much fun. It's so much fun to get to see all of my numbers and have a computer that goes out and pulls the information for me and puts it into a dashboard and says, yes, this is my profitability by employee, and this is my profitability by client, and this is, how many transactions did we do in the last week? And so it's fun to have those numbers, I think.
I love it. And I think for people who do not love numbers, if you're listening or watching this or reading this, you probably would also love it if somebody else would just explain those numbers to you every week and told you that your business is healthy. Or this and this and this parts of your business are healthy, but this part appears to be in a little bit of trouble. Your blood pressure is up.
Right.
It's not at the point where you're about to collapse, but it appears that something is a little bit out of whack. Why are your expenses up by 20% on this expense category?
Yeah.
Like, it's that much easier to deal with it when it just happened last week than, why didn't they make any profit? And you're talking about it with your accountant in February.
Right.
Which a lot of small business owners, probably a lot of law firm owners, deal with that every year.
Yeah, it's very hard to make changes if you don't know about it until February, and it's been happening for a year. I mean, you can make changes at that point, but at that point it might be too late.
So it's too late. We also, before we hit the record button, we talked about the fact that your firm, you also do some advisory for law firm owners. Talk about that. Like, what type of advisory do you do and how it helps law firm owners actually improve their businesses, make them healthier?
Yeah, well, we can help with, one is advising on implementing systems into their law firm, whether that's how to handle invoicing so that way it's getting paid timely, how to implement payroll so that way you don't get in trouble with the timing of things. So it just like advising on implementing systems, advising on how to handle their trust accounts correctly. And we also help with like advising, we can set up budgets for you and then show you where you're at actual versus budgeted. And what does that mean? Like, if you were wanting to spend so much on marketing and you're overspending that or you're underspending that, why is that? Do we need to change something in the budget? Is there, what needs to be done to help your law firm grow as much? And I particularly love working with marketing type stuff where we can go, okay, you're trying out this marketing idea. what kind of return are you getting on that? Let's keep track of the clients that you're getting from that marketing and the expenses. Now, how profitable are those clients? Is that marketing working for you, or is there some other marketing that would work better? I'm not going to advise you on what marketing to do, but I can tell you, like, hey, here's the numbers, and then you can help make the decision on what they should be doing.
Brandy, I think there is a gap that I'm going to fill for you.
Okay, go for it.
So when you measure effectiveness of marketing,
Mm-hmm.
so the way that most people think about it, marketing is responsible for generating leads.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see some of those leads become paying clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the revenue coming from those clients. And you say, okay, so last year you've invested, let's use a round number, $100,000 into marketing. How many new clients did you sign up? Well, I signed up enough clients to generate $500,000 in revenue. Like, okay. So you invested 20% into client getting marketing, right? And is this an adequate return on your investment?
Right.
Where the gap exists is in the intake process. And this is what a lot of people do not really pay attention to, because let's suppose that you invested $100,000 and you got, I'm just going to continue using round numbers.
Yes,
You got
it's easier.
1,000 leads.
Mm-hmm.
$100 per lead, you got 1,000 leads, and your conversion rate, what the rest of the world is referring to as your close rate, is 10%. So you got 100 clients, and each client spends on average $5,000, and so you got $500,000 gross return on investment, right? You got $500,000 for the 100,000 that you invested. Now, let's imagine that you focus on that conversion rate on your intake, and you find a lot of gaps in your intake, and you're like, wow, I can double my conversion rate, but I can improve it by 50%. So instead of 10% conversion rate, I'm going to have 15% conversion rate. All of a sudden, you go from 100 clients, you go to 150 clients. And your revenue on that $100,000 investment goes from $500,000 to $750,000. But you invested the same number of dollars into client getting, your marketing.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to pay very close attention to intake, because it doesn't go marketing, revenue.
Right.
It goes
I know.
marketing, intake.
Then that's more your area of expertise.
Yeah, and we do not do like pure intake consulting, but we just see a lot of that seepage
Yes.
in the intake process. And I always say, like, what you want to create in your intake process is an airtight system. A lead comes in, somebody is talking to that lead either instantly or within 5 minutes. Why within 5 minutes? Because if you don't, after they filled out your contact us form, after
Right.
they left you a message, they called your competitor.
Exactly.
And if you don't talk to them first, you talk to them second. The first lawyer that they get to talk to has a 71% probability of getting that business. Why? 10, 15, 20 years ago, there was a massive study that actually evaluated how most consumers hire an attorney, and 71% of them said, I hired the first guy or gal. Why? Because we built most rapport. Why? Well, because they asked me all the right questions, and they gave them all the right information, and they gave me all the new information that I didn't know, because the lawyer was very knowledgeable about the things. And then the second lawyer I talked to, they repeated the same things as the first one told me.
Yes. Yes.
I am naturally biased toward hiring the first attorney. So if the
Right.
price is right between these two, and the third one, they said that I only wanted to hear how much this would cost me. They didn't even want to go through the questions and answers. You know, they just wanted like how much. The first way I said 5,000. The second gal said 5,000. How much are you charging? 5,000? Bye. You're hired.
The first one.
So you want to have that airtight intake system. So awesome stuff. I love these things. I especially love the part where you talk about consulting, about future planning, right? Budgeting. The reason why I love it so much is, let's imagine, just going to paint the scenario. Let's imagine that you run $1 million law firm, $1 million in gross revenue. And you decide to implement a profit first system where you're like, no matter what, I'm going to pay myself
Right.
$200,000 a year. And at the year's end, I'm going to have $100,000 in profit. So now you have a $700,000 budget for everything else. And this is all that you can spend. You can spend a little less than $60,000 a month. And now Brandy can help you figure out what it is that you're going to spend on service, right?
Yeah.
The cost of delivering the service. What is that you can invest into client getting, your marketing? What is that you can spend on your intake and on your HR functions?
Right.
And it's mapped out a year in advance. Like, you're going to end up with those numbers, give or take, as long as you adhere to the budget. And she's going to help you, or her team is going to help you adhere to the budget, because they're going to look at those things every single week. And if they
Right.
notice that you're overspending or your revenue is coming in low, they will tell you
That's right.
something is wrong. Let's address it now, a week into it, rather than let's wait until February of next year to figure out what's going on.
You're way off of your goal at that point.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, if this whole episode of podcast sounds like a pitch for Legal Ease Bookkeeping, it's not because it is. It's just because of how much appreciation I have for the accounting profession. It's impossible to run your business well if you do not know and control your numbers. It is impossible. You may get lucky here and there. You will not get lucky consistent. It is impossible. And I think this is one of the reasons why so many law firm owners are not very wealthy people, despite the built-in opportunity to do very well financially in this business.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of them that they undersell themselves, and they don't invoice people because they feel bad, or they discount, or they weren't timely on sending out the invoice, so they decided to not send it out because they feel bad because they weren't timely about it. And if you hire somebody to help you, it takes away there's a lot of emotion around sending out invoices, especially if you like have met that person and you know them, and then but now there's a third party who has no emotion around sending out the invoice. They can just send it out regularly, and then if it doesn't get paid, they send a reminder, and you don't have to deal with the problems that come up around invoicing, at least as much, and so they can take that piece off of you. And if you're just consistently invoicing and doing it timely, you will see your revenues increase by so much. It's incredible. The people who don't do that, who come to us, and all of a sudden they are making a lot more money.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder, because that is one huge ROI generator on your service, or on bookkeeping and accounting services in general, because you may be spending, I don't know, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on your accounting and bookkeeping on annualized basis. Mm-hmm. But in return, you may be collecting another $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 in revenue, plus saving the time that you said a third of your clients, when they come to you, they're doing their own bookkeeping, so you're no longer doing that. Plus, there's sanity and accountability. And it's just, life is easier when you have a good bookkeeping and accounting service on your side.
I like to think so.
There you go. Brandy, if somebody wants to reach out to you, what are good 3 questions that you would want them to ask you out of the gate?
Oh, well, I was telling somebody else, I was like, I am not good with quick on my feet responses. The good questions would be, I guess, like, if they want to know about our bookkeeping services, I mean, that's like an easy one. Like, what kind of bookkeeping do you do? But that's boring. I think it's better to work with people that you like to work with. So I like to find out about the person and what makes them tick, and are we going to be a good personality fit to work together? I'm not sure exactly what question you would ask to find that out. And then, like, why did I get into doing bookkeeping for law firms? I think I have a good answer for that, but I'm not sure that's what you're exactly asking, but that's my 3 questions.
But probably if I was a law firm owner and I was looking to hire a bookkeeping service provider, I would probably start by telling you my current situation, and then asking, let's imagine that I hire your firm and you work for me for 90 days. How is my life different in 90 days? Describe it for me. Because that's what that's what I want to pay for. I want to pay for an improvement in my business, so my life improves. So I probably want to hear that. I think I just came up with it, but I always like to think about, like, today is not February 27th, 2025. Today is May 27th, 2025. It's been 90 days since I hired you. I look back and say, well, this was a great investment of time, energy, and money, hiring you, Brandy, with Legal Ease Bookkeeping. Like, what has to happen what are you going to do for me in the next 90 days for me to say that? And you're like, well, Sasha, I'm going to have to like straighten out this.
Yes. Yes.
Like, oh, that would be so much better than what they got right now.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
That's a great question.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. What's the best way to reach out, connect with you?
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn and connect with me there. You can send me an email, Brandy with a Y at legaleasebookkeeping.com. And you can go to my website, legaleasebookkeeping.com, and there's a contact form on there if you want to fill that out, and we'll get back in touch with you.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much, Brandy. Really appreciate you being on the podcast.